Today, I'm super excited to bring you an interview with someone who I followed for a while called Oscar, who has recently gone through going from the six-figure, $500,000, up to now going seven figures, $1.5 million, which is a massive barrier to break through in the last 12 months. And what I'm really, really interested to do is to learn more about this and how he made that not only physical shift in his business, but also the mental shift in his mind. If you want to learn more, stay tuned. Right, guys, I'm super excited today. Why? Because I think breaking through the seven-figure barrier is something that we all wanted to do, or perhaps maybe thought about in our lives, and actually doing it is a completely different equation. That's why today I'm really excited to have Oscar here, who is doing that as we speak right now on his journey, and I really want to learn more about it. So, Oscar, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to share with me and obviously to share with the viewers. If anyone doesn't know who you are, can you explain a little bit about yourself and should we say your business?
My name's Oscar. We're aiming to hit seven figures. Really past seven figures this year. Full-time Amazon seller. Been full-time since 2021, I believe I remember. Basically over a year now doing this full-time. We do majority wholesale with some online arbitrage in our business model as well. A few employees in the mix as well. Just really growing from there, really. So that's about a short version of my, background.
I like it. And if I just kind of elaborate for people watching right now, the one thing which we talk about is, the reason why I'm interested in this is because of you doing, can I ask, last month, what kind of revenues did you do? And last year, what revenue did you do? And the reason is that's going to help kind of do that perspective from six figures up to seven. And we can see that transition. So actually, a better question might be what revenue did you do last month? And what did you do the month this time last year, top of your head?
I actually posted this the other day on Instagram. So last month, which was April 2023, we did about 120,000 in revenue. That same month last year, we did barely 25,000, I believe. So yeah, it was quite a growth.
That is a really big step up, and I'd love to learn more about that. So you started what? I think it was 2019. Is that right? The reselling journey. Tell me about that. How did you get to this point today?
Yeah, we started in 2019. I followed one of my first mentors, my guy Noah, shout out to him. I saw a few of his YouTube videos about wholesale dropship and got interested in it, made an Amazon seller account, got the whole LLC and everything, and just, started doing some stuff from there. Year after year, your business kind of change, your model shift, you kind of get adjusted to what suits you and your business, So I definitely started trying out retail arbitrage, online arbitrage, adding some wholesale all along the years. And now in 2023, we're definitely trying to, stick more to wholesale with a little bit of online arbitrage in the mix. But yeah, it's just been a journey for sure, though.
And just talk me through, you said obviously you're doing wholesale OA. What's the revenue split? How much you're doing in wholesale and how much you're doing in OA, percentage-wise?
Wholesale about to get is probably around 70%, and then online arbitrage around 30%. At the time.
And did you start with wholesale or OA, or was it always that split? How's it been over time?
Yeah, so it was very weird for me, because I did the wholesale dropship in our first model, and then I did regular wholesale, but I came to realize I needed more capital with wholesale if I really wanted an advantage, So that's when I went back to doing some retail arbitrage, dabbed into that, and then I dabbed into online arbitrage as well, because that was more scalable. And now, basically around last year, I definitely dabbed back into more wholesale since I have more capital, because now I know what I'm doing with the knowledge that I've gained throughout the year. So yeah.
And what does that mean when you said I now know what I'm doing? Can you define that? If other people are thinking hey, I'm ready to do that, I think I know what I'm doing. What does it look like?
Yeah, so because when I try to do wholesale, I definitely needed capital, so that was a major bump right there, because I only started my business with $1,000, so that's not going to get you much in wholesale if I'm being honest. But you actually, so it took me doing some retail arbitrage and OA to actually learn some of the fundamentals of just doing Amazon in general. So after years and years of experience, you just kind of learn certain things. And then you come to realize that wholesale is basically the same, just at a more, scale. Whatever you're doing one of in RA or OA, you just do 10x the amount with wholesale. So it's really just about expanding the skills with wholesale and stuff, and basically having the capital as well too.
Okay. Let's talk about capital, because I think this is a really interesting point. You've gone from last year 25,000 a month to 125,000 a month now, which is next level. So obviously really, really well done. Like, talk me through the capital. You said you started with 1,000. Can you talk me through the journey of like, what did that look like? Are you using loans, credit cards? If you sold the house, for example, like, I don't know, like renting out the car on like Uber, I don't know. But like how have you funded that operation? What does that look like?
Currently, we still have our house, luckily, so no need for that. But yeah, I mean, I started this journey with $1,000 that I saved up for my job. So I took that money, made my LLC, bought some inventory, obviously, and yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird in today's dynamic with how Amazon is. Everybody just talks about straight up credit cards from the get go. When I started back then like that, there was no really talks like that about credit cards or barely even loans as well, right? So, but yeah, so I just had to keep reinvesting that $1,000 every single month. Obviously, throughout the journey, there was mistakes made, so I lost some money, which took time for me to recoup and buy better inventory and whatnot. And then, like a year into that, I got my first, I think, Amazon loan offered to me. It was like a very small amount, like I think like $1,000 that they offered me. So I tried that out, took it a bit, but again, I wasn't sure what I was doing with that loan either. I kind of just, took it. But I took that loan. I managed to pay it back pretty quick because I didn't really want to have too much debt like that on me as well. Again, because I just didn't have the skill set to know what I was doing with that loan as well. And so for the next year or two, I kind of just kept reinvesting whatever capital I had. And it wasn't until last year in 2022 when I really started getting more into credit cards. And that's where I really started, because at that point I really knew what I was doing, really, because I had all the skill sets that I was still learning. And so at that point I was like, you know what, I basically need more capital at this point. So I applied for a few credit cards, and yeah, being able to utilize those credit cards really helped me scale at that point from there.
And for you, are you still using Amazon loans now?
I actually have one offered to me right now, but I just haven't taken it yet. So,
are you going to?
We'll see. I might take one before Q4, but I'm really not trying to over leverage myself if I don't have to either.
But I'm guessing Amazon loans would be cheaper than credit cards. That would not be right. So, like, why would you do credit cards over Amazon loans?
Yeah, well, I mean, at the time when I got my credit cards, they were 0% APR for 12 months. So, I took advantage of that. And with the Amazon loans, there's that high APR of 12%, 13%, whatever that APR may be. But like I said, I may do it during Q4 just because of capital. Even right now at the moment, I think my scalability is limited now because I just have so much credit on my credit cards. So I may have to take out that loan if I want to continue scaling at this point.
And could I ask, are you using personal credit cards or business credit cards?
All business credit cards, no personal.
And in regards to credit cards, like, can I ask which ones are you using? Like, is there any you recommend? Are there any maybe you don't recommend?
I mean, I've only used a few. I have 2 Chase business credit cards. I think it's like the Business Inc. or Unlimited or something like that. I have the Amex Plum card, which is pretty popular these days. That one's really good if you're low on capital or if you need cash flow. It helps you pay it back in like 2 months versus the 1 month period. So that one's pretty good. And then I have a Capital, I think, Spark business card, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, those are the 4 main ones I'm using currently at the moment.
And why do you have the Capital one? You talked about the Chase, you like them. Why about like the Capital one, Capital Spark card?
The only thing about the Capital one is that it does run your personal credit score. So if you're maxing out 10,000 on it, it's going to reflect on your credit score like that. So be careful.
Really? So even though it's a business card, is that right?
Correct. It still runs against your personal credit score.
Wow,
so that's kind of why I don't like it as much.
Wow, I never knew that. Interesting. Yeah, like it's crazy. I still remember in my business we had, I was talking to a friend the other day. I was like, my God, we ran like Amex cards, we ran like Amazon loans, and I think it was like one point we had like $1 million in credit lines. Wow. It was like some serious cash. I was like, wow. This is a lot of money. But you can it can be done, and obviously when you come from like an employment perspective coming into this, you're not used to that much cash. And again, I think is a really important point about like you being ready and understanding it. I think if anyone's looking right now, like watching your kind of call or watching this interview right now, and they are thinking about making that transition into using credit, like what things should they consider? Maybe there's some metrics and numbers they should be tracking or thinking about or knowing, because you said like I know my business, I know my deals. Like what kind of thing, what advice would you give to them?
Number one, make sure you have the capital to pay them back in full, right? You don't want to end up having to borrow 10,000 and you only have 1,000 in the bank account to pay it back off. You're going to be paying huge interest on that. Number two, know your cash flow, know your products. It's easy to drop, 5,000 on some products, especially new products. that you may or may not know if they're gonna move or not. And should the worst come, let's say you send them in, the price is tank, you want to hold them, you don't want to sell them yet. Well, now you have that capital tied up to pay off that credit card, right? So do be aware of that. You're not going to see your money for the next 30 days to pay off those cards, because you have to consider the time you receive the product, the time it gets checked in, FC transfers. If it sells even right away, it might not sell for another week or two. The Amazon payout, so that's another probably 2 weeks from there. So in all that time, you're not going to be able to pay that card back off immediately. That's why it's important to have those funds up front if you can.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's a really important point. Like, I kind of calculate 3 months. Like, that's my kind of like lead time. But you are like, it might be like a month in Amazon, before a product sales. You've got 2 weeks before Amazon release the money back to you, and then on top of that, it might take 2 weeks to get the product from the supplier into Amazon. And Amazon ship it all around. It's like, oh my god, so that's like 2 months straight away. And I say sometimes it sells in 1, but sometimes it takes a bit longer and it sells in 3. So I just go the long side. So everyone's like, I can turn it in a month on my credit card. You're like, it doesn't really work that way. So And again, knowing your numbers is so important. You start with wholesale. You're now kind of doing a blend of wholesale and OA, and I think about 30% wholesale, 30% OA, 70% wholesale. Why? Like you said, the OA was more cash. Like, what advice do you have for people? Like, I think one of the questions I'm really trying to think about actually is going from 500,000, let's call it 25,000 a month, up to 125,000 a month. What kind of problems have you seen, and how have you overcome them in your business? With the suppliers that you're using.
Just from last year, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely still learning the game, right? So it was definitely learning how to read Keepa charts, reading variations. Reading variations was a big one for me, because I was kind of just buying products that I assumed was moving good, but I wasn't aware of the variations. So definitely important to read up on those. I mean, as far as it was from last year to this year, I think I've really dealt with most of my bad mistakes before that already in the previous years. So from here to last year, it was just about really spending more. And that's something I learned too, was keeping track of your spend. If you're spending 20,000 a month, you're gonna see probably 40 to 50,000 in revenue the next month. And that's something I wasn't really aware about either. So once I learned about that, then I really started keeping track of my numbers. So how much I'm spending on inventory, keeping track of all that. So really, last year was definitely about staying organized, on top of my numbers more. So that was probably my biggest hurdle right there. But it's definitely paying off now for sure.
And what about like suppliers? Like, my God, like 25,000 a month in sales, I can do on OA. It's fine. 125,000 a month. Now you're starting to, should we say, buy bigger. What kind of problems did you face with that, and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, I mean, as far as suppliers, we had like one supplier that really didn't want to sell to us no more for some reason last year. So that kind of hurt us temporarily, I think, for like a month or so. And that's kind of the reason why we pivoted to more OA during that time as well, because we were like, while we're finding newer suppliers to replace them with, let's get some products that we can get now and, keep the business running. So that was definitely a big issue right there. But, we put in the work, found more suppliers. We got a new one we're working with right now. Seems to be working pretty well. So, yeah, that was definitely an issue right there with suppliers. And that's something I recommend to people, is try not to rely too much on one supplier alone, because should something happen with them, or maybe the brands they carry, it could definitely be damaging if you're not, careful or ready for it. So.
No, I completely understand. And when we talk about suppliers, are you talking about like wholesale suppliers there, or are you talking about the OA suppliers as well?
Wholesale ones in this one.
And like, let's say for example on the OA side, have you? I'm guessing have you grown your OA business since last year, or is it still the same revenues? Would you say?
Most of them are the same sources. We're just able to basically find more stuff in them and buy bigger quantities. So it's kind of, I say, the same or so, just at a larger scale.
It's really interesting in the fact that a year ago you're doing 25,000, of which, let's say for example 5,000 of it was OA, and now you're doing 125,000, of which 25,000 of it is OA, and you're saying it's the same suppliers. And what's really interesting, the reason why I say this is because so many people talk about sourcing, whereby like, it's hard, I can't find anything, and you're like, you haven't changed who you're sourcing from, but you're just getting more now.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I tell some people who want to get into like online arbitrage specifically, like try not to focus too many on the sites that don't want you to buy so much from them, right? Like what's one with like Glossier, I think they sell like makeup store or something, they'll limit you to like 6, 10. I came to realize last year, like, it's not worth the time dealing with those type of websites. When we can go to a different website, they don't care how much we buy, they just want the money. We're better off putting our time into those sites. So
You can spend a lot more. It's such an important thing. And for you, like you said, obviously you have a team. Can you tell me like what's the team operation look like? What was it back last year, and what is it now?
let me see, last year, let's see, around this time, it was just me and my wife, really. She would help me prep here and there. Me just her here in the room back here would just be, prepping our stuff. But now forward to this year, I have 2 virtual assistants who help me source products, manage admin tasks as well. And then I have 2 preppers now here in-house that basically prep our products, which they're actually doing right now. So
And like, what does the future hold for you? Where are you going? Like, tell me about in 1 year's time. What will it look like?
yeah, I mean, assuming we hit our numbers that we're forecasting, we're definitely trying to expand to a warehouse for sure. We want to move everything out of the house and keep that separate. So once that's set up, I'm looking to get another virtual assistant, hopefully, probably add another prepper as well, and just continue growing from there. Taking it one step at a time, seeing where our numbers are at, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense to keep in or cut off, and just keep expanding really. And hopefully with that warehouse, we're able to expand with more wholesale suppliers that, because some of them request commercial addresses, so hopefully we'll open accounts with those type of suppliers too.
Interesting. No, I love it. And like, I think it's great because you can start this business from home, but obviously sometimes it's like, like, my God, I'm doing $1 million business from home. You're like, wow. And be like, and you can still keep growing. People do really big numbers. Also, you can have really big homes, can't you? Like a warehouse on your residential address, effectively. Not that you should, but you could. Big enough garage. Or you live in the garage and the house is the actual warehouse. I love it.
Or that. Yeah.
Fantastic. So if people want to get in contact with you, what's the best way to do it?
Probably Instagram. You can check me out there. It's just Oscar Martinez, I think _817 or something like that. Or maybe just 817. Something like
Underscore.
that. Oh, with underscore? Yeah, I figured. But yeah, that's probably your best bet. You could also follow me on Twitter. I have a YouTube channel that whenever you want to get, closer with me through a DM, I think Instagram would be the best option for sure.
No, it's cool. And if anyone wants to know, what I will do is I'll put all the links down below, so you can grab that as well. So, Oscar, I just want to say thank you so much. Hopefully, like in maybe a year's time, I can come see how you're getting on. Maybe even come see you in your new warehouse, look at the operation, and share that journey, like where you're going next on that, and obviously find out more information. But for myself and everyone watching, thank you so much for obviously sharing, and look forward to hearing in the future as well how you're getting on.
All right, yeah, we'll send you an invite.
Take care. Bye bye.